Social Security can deposit money into your account for months, decide later that its own calculation was wrong, and then demand that money back from the check you use for rent, prescriptions, groceries, and electricity. Under the current recovery rule, SSA can withhold 50% of a retirement, survivor, or disability benefit when an overpayment is left unresolved. If your monthly check is $1,900, that can mean $950 missing from a future deposit. And here's the part many seniors do not realize until the damage is already done. The overpayment may not begin with anything you deliberately did wrong. You may have reported the change. An employee may have entered the information incorrectly. SSA may have continued paying the old amount while your case sat unprocessed. But once the overpayment notice arrives, the burden suddenly lands on you. In this video, I will show you the 3 different ways to respond, the 30-day protection you should not waste, the form that challenges the debt, the form that may erase repayment, and the form that can reduce the amount taken from your monthly check. I will also show you what evidence can prove the mistake was not yours. Stay with me, because using the wrong form can turn a strong case into the wrong request. An overpayment means Social Security believes it paid you more than you were entitled to receive previously. That does not prove the agency is right. It means a debt has been placed on your record, and unless you answer it, recovery can begin. For retirement, survivor, and Social Security disability benefits, the current default recovery rate can be 50% of the monthly benefit. This is not a tax or punishment. It is money Social Security redirects toward the alleged debt. Consider a widow receiving $1,900 each month. If Social Security claims she was overpaid $8,000, a 50% withholding rate could redirect about $950 from each benefit. Her Medicare premium and household bills do not disappear simply because her deposit was reduced. Supplemental security income is different. The standard withholding rate for an SSI overpayment is generally 10%, not 50%. That distinction matters because people often use Social Security to describe several programs governed by different recovery rules. The notice controls the details of your case. Some older debts, special situations, fraud findings, or existing arrangements may be handled differently. So do not assume every beneficiary will lose exactly half. But do not dismiss the risk. When a notice goes unanswered, Social Security's calculation remains unchallenged. The next step is to identify the exact months involved, the payment Social Security says you should have received, and the information it used to create the debt. Until those numbers are explained month by month, an official-looking total is still only the agency's conclusion. An overpayment can begin with a mistake made by the beneficiary, but it can also begin inside Social Security. That distinction matters because proof that you reported a change may later support a waiver or challenge. Imagine a retiree returns to part-time work and reports new wages. The report is received, but the record is not updated for several months. Her full benefit keeps arriving. Social Security can later recalculate those months and label extra payments an overpayment, even though she tried to prevent it. The same problem can follow delayed pension information, workers' compensation adjustments, changes affecting a spouse or dependent, an incorrect benefit calculation, or a family payment that continues after eligibility changes. A survivor claim can also be revised after dates, earnings, or family records are corrected. This is why you should never assume an unexpected increase is safe simply because it came from the government. If your deposit rises, a second payment appears, or a change you reported produces no adjustment, contact Social Security and preserve proof of that contact. Save confirmation pages, mailed copies, certified mail receipts, office-stamped documents, dates of phone calls, and names of representatives. A verbal assurance may calm you today. Written evidence may protect your income months later. Social Security's own guidance recognizes situations in which a person reported information and payments continued, or the agency calculated the benefit incorrectly. Those facts may support a finding that the beneficiary was not at fault, but they do not cancel the debt automatically. That is the hard reality. The agency can create the payment problem, yet you may still have to raise the correct legal request before recovery stops. The notice is where that defense begins. It should reveal the months, amount, reason, and proposed collection action. And those details determine what you do next. When the overpayment notice arrives, do not read only the large dollar amount. The smaller sections tell you what Social Security plans to do and how much time you have to stop automatic recovery. The notice should identify the total alleged overpayment, the months involved, the reason SSA believes you were paid too much, your repayment options, and your rights to appeal or request a waiver. If the explanation is vague, that is not a reason to surrender. It is a reason to demand a month-by-month calculation. 2 time periods matter, and confusing them can cost you money. The first is 30 days. Under current SSA guidance, if you request an appeal or waiver within that period, collection will not begin while the agency decides your request. If you do nothing, automatic withholding may start after the waiting period shown in the notice. The second is 60 days. That is generally the deadline for appealing the overpayment decision. An appeal challenges whether you were overpaid or whether the amount is correct. Waiting until day 50 may preserve the appeal, but it may not protect your next deposit as safely as acting during the first 30 days. A waiver is different. It can generally be requested at any time, but filing later can mean recovery begins before SSA receives and processes the request. The day the letter arrives, photograph every page in the envelope. Write down the date you received it. Circle the notice date, recovery date, alleged amount, and months listed. Save every attachment. Then call only to clarify the record. Do not depend on a phone conversation as your response. A representative's promise is not the same as a filed appeal or waiver. Your first job is to protect the deadline. Your second is to choose the correct request. The moment you understand why Social Security says you were overpaid, you must choose the right response. There are 3 separate doors, and each one asks the agency for something different. Door 1 is an appeal. Use Form SSA 561. Request for reconsideration when you believe no overpayment occurred, the amount is wrong, the months are wrong, or Social Security ignored information already in its records. An appeal says, your decision is incorrect and I want the calculation reviewed. Door 2 is a waiver. Use Form SSA 632 when the overpayment may be real, but you are not at fault and repayment would prevent you from meeting ordinary and necessary expenses, or recovery would otherwise be unfair under Social Security's rules. A waiver says, I should not be required to repay this debt. Door 3 is a lower recovery rate. Use Form SSA 634 when you accept that money must be repaid, but the proposed withholding would leave too little for housing, food, utilities, insurance, medicine, or transportation. That request says, I can repay something, but I cannot survive the amount you plan to take. Do not treat these forms as interchangeable. Asking only for a smaller monthly deduction can sound like you accept the debt. Filing only an appeal may leave out a valid hardship argument, and requesting a waiver without explaining fault and finances can weaken a case that deserves careful review. Sometimes more than one argument applies. You may dispute part of the amount while asking for waiver protection if Social Security still finds an overpayment. Keep those arguments separate and label them clearly. Before signing anything, decide exactly what you want Social Security to change: the decision, the obligation to repay, or the monthly collection amount. That choice determines your next move. The next section will show you how to challenge the debt with evidence instead of sending a disagreement that changes nothing. Official SSA guidance confirms the separate purposes of Forms SSA 561, SSA 632, and SSA 634. If you believe Social Security's decision is wrong, do not send a one-line statement saying, I disagree. That gives the reviewer almost nothing to examine. A strong appeal turns the agency's total into a month-by-month question. Use Form SSA 561, Request for Reconsideration. Start by identifying the exact month Social Security says we're overpaid. Then ask 4 direct questions. What should my benefit have been in each month? What did Social Security actually pay? What information caused the agency to change the amount? And when did Social Security receive that information? Build a simple timeline. List the date you reported work, income, a pension, a marriage, a divorce, a death, or another change. Beside each date, identify how you reported it and what proof you still have. Useful evidence can include online confirmation pages, copies of letters, certified mail receipts, office-stamped documents, pay stubs, benefit notices, bank statements, pension records, workers' compensation records, and notes from calls. Include the representative's name and the date of the conversation when available. Your written explanation should be precise. I request reconsideration because the overpayment amount and period do not reflect information I reported on the following dates. Then attach the timeline and supporting documents. If only part of the debt is wrong, say so. You can accept certain months and challenge others. Do not let one correct month force you to accept an entire calculation. If the notice does not show how the debt was built, request a detailed payment history and a month-by-month explanation. An official number is not beyond challenge merely because it appears in bold print. A reviewer needs dates, amounts, documents, and a clear explanation showing exactly where the agency's calculation went wrong in your case. Keep a complete copy of everything you submit. Save the confirmation, mailing receipt, or stamped copy. Your goal is to replace a vague disagreement with a documented record that forces Social Security to explain its math. But sometimes the payment truly was too high. That does not automatically mean you were at fault. Before we continue, take out any Social Security notice you received recently. Find the notice date, the month Social Security says we're overpaid, and the reason listed for the debt. If the letter does not clearly explain those 3 items, write down this question. Please provide a month-by-month breakdown, showing what I received, what I should have received, and what information caused the difference. Do not argue with a total until you understand exactly how Social Security built it first. A waiver is not an appeal. You use it when the overpayment may be correct, but forcing you to repay it would be wrong under Social Security's rules. The usual request is Form SSA 632. To win a waiver, you generally must clear 2 separate tests. First, you were not at fault in causing or accepting the overpayment. Second, recovery would keep you from meeting ordinary and necessary living expenses, or recovery would be unfair under another waiver standard. Not at fault does not mean you must prove Social Security acted maliciously. It means the record shows you reported what you were supposed to report, relied reasonably on agency information, could not have been expected to recognize the incorrect payment, or received money after Social Security failed to process accurate information. Agency error helps, but it does not erase the debt automatically. Social Security may still ask what you knew, when you knew it, and what action you took after the payment changed. That is why reporting records, confirmation numbers, letters, and dated notes matter. The financial section must be equally specific. List your rent or mortgage, utilities, groceries, insurance, Medicare premiums, prescriptions, transportation, and other necessary household costs. Attach recent bank statements, bills, income records, and medical expenses when requested. Do not write only, "I cannot afford it." Show the monthly arithmetic. A useful statement is, "After paying ordinary and necessary living expenses, I do not have enough remaining income to repay this overpayment without missing housing, food, utilities, insurance, or medical care." A waiver can generally be requested at any time. Once Social Security receives the request, it must stop current recovery action while making the initial waiver decision. Filing during the first 30 days is still safer because it can prevent withholding from starting before your request reaches the system. The strongest waiver package connects 3 facts: what you reported, why you reasonably believed the payment was correct, and exactly how repayment would damage your ability to cover necessary expenses. If Social Security refuses to erase the debt, do not assume 50% is your only remaining option. You can still request an affordable recovery rate. If you know someone who depends on 1 monthly Social Security check, press like so this information reaches them. And tell me in the comments whether Social Security has ever changed payments months later. Do not share your Social Security number, claim number, benefit amount, address, or private notice details. If Social Security will not waive the debt, or if you agree repayment is required, the proposed 50% withholding still may not be affordable. Use Form SSA 634, Request for Change in Overpayment Recovery Rate. This form asks Social Security to reduce the amount taken from each monthly benefit because the current rate would prevent you from meeting necessary living expenses. Do not write only, "I cannot afford this." Show the numbers, list household income, including Social Security, pensions, wages, and help from another person. Then list necessary expenses such as housing, utilities, groceries, insurance, Medicare premiums, prescriptions, transportation, and payments connected to essential needs. Attach bank statements, bills, medical receipts, and income records when requested. Social Security needs enough information to compare what enters the household with what leaves it each month. Propose a repayment amount you can maintain. You might say, I can repay $100 per month, but withholding half my benefit would leave me unable to pay rent and medical expenses. Do not promise an amount that will collapse your budget after 1 month. A realistic arrangement is stronger than an offer you cannot keep. Ask this question. What documentation do you need to decide a lower recovery rate based on my necessary living expenses? Keep proof that the request was submitted and watch for the decision. The default rate is not proof that 50% is the only rate available. It is the rate that remains when no affordable arrangement has been approved. The first 48 hours after an overpayment notice arrives should be used to protect your income, not to panic or send money blindly. First, read every page. Find the notice date, the overpayment period, the total amount, the reason Social Security gives, the proposed collection date, and the instructions for appeal or waiver. Keep the envelope because it may help establish when you received the notice. Second, compare the letter with your records. Check bank deposits, benefit notices, wage reports, pension documents, and copies of information you previously submitted. Mark anything that does not match. Third, choose the correct response. Use Form SSA 561 if the debt or amount is wrong. Use Form SSA 632 if you were not at fault and repayment would create hardship or be unfair. Use Form S-A634 if you accept the debt but need a lower monthly recovery rate. Fourth, file as early as possible. A request submitted within 30 days can prevent collection from beginning while Social Security makes its initial decision. The general appeal period is 60 days after you receive the notice. Fifth, create proof. Save a complete copy, upload confirmation, certified mail receipt, or office stamped copy. Record the date, time, and name of every representative you contact, then follow up and ask, has my request been entered and has recovery been placed on hold while it is reviewed? Watch your next deposit and every new notice. Delivery does not prove processing. Finally, verify payment instructions independently. Social Security will not demand gift cards, cryptocurrency, cash, or an emergency wire transfer. Your immediate goal is simple. Protect the deadline, preserve the evidence, and put the correct request into the system before an automatic deduction reaches the check your household depends on for rent, food, medicine, and essential household bills. Yes, Social Security can recover an overpayment even when the original problem began with an agency calculation or processing error. Under the current rule, unresolved recovery can consume 50% of a retirement, survivor, or disability benefit. Before you send money or accept the deduction, ask 3 questions. Is the debt correct? Was I at fault? Can I afford the recovery rate without missing necessary expenses? Form SSA 561 challenges the decision or amount. Form SSA 632 asks Social Security to waive repayment. Form SSA 634 requests a lower monthly recovery rate. Ignoring the notice is not a neutral choice. It leaves Social Security's calculation, deadline, and proposed withholding unanswered. Even if you need more records, protect the deadline first. State in writing what you dispute and what relief you are requesting. A senior should not lose money needed for rent, food, medicine, or electricity because a complicated notice was misunderstood or the wrong form was filed. Preserve your proof. Make Social Security explain every month and every dollar before you accept its conclusion. If this video helped you understand a Social Security danger many people discover too late, press like and subscribe to Seniors Heaven. We explain Social Security, Medicare, taxes, and senior benefits in plain English so you can protect the money you earned.